has been a while since I have done a video. Yeah, also there's a super cute Australian Shepherd playing ball out the window that's right that way, so if I look distracted at any point, it's probably because I'm watching the dog. Anyway, just fair warning. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a video. Basically what happened was I was still doing quite a bit of crafting after my last video, and then I don't do well with heat, and I live in Texas because of my school, so it was summer and I was miserable and I didn't do all that much, and now I'm like, I should probably do that. And then I'm like, I haven't watched my old video. I don't know if this is going to be like, yeah, I haven't watched my old video because if I stop to watch my old video, I'm never going to get around to making this new video. So we're just going to wing it, and I may forget to show you some stuff that I'll show you later, and I might not, and I might show you stuff you've already seen, and I apologize. But whatever, I'm here, video, we're going to go with it. I actually have more to show you than I thought I would because it's just been a really long time, and so even though I wasn't doing much crafting, I was still doing some crafting, which was enough to, you know, give me stuff to do, I guess. So what I want to do today is I'm going to show you a super exciting, I have a fully finished cross-stitch piece to show you, which is awesome. It's my oldest cross-stitch piece that I've had for like 14-ish years. And I finished it, so that's awesome. And then I've got actually quite a bit of cross-stitch progress because that was kind of the thing that I did most while I was like the heat. I hate Texas. And then I've got some knitting to show you. I was really not in a knitting mood for a while, and then I've got a couple of other things that kind of fall into my other crafts. But anyway, so let's start with the super exciting finish. This is a dimensions kit. Ooh, I'm gonna have to lean back here. All right, this is called Morning Flight. It's 16 count Aida that came in the kit. And basically I had started out doing this one color at a time, and then I kind of switched to doing it by quadrants of the page, and I was done with this quadrant, I was done with this quadrant, I was 2/3 done with this quadrant, and I was about half done with this quadrant, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna finish it. And so I spent so long working on this, it's not even crazy. This was, I did a lot of this during the Olympics because I don't like the commercials, and I don't care for all the sports, but I just kind of left my TV on because it was the first Olympics in a while that I've actually had like a TV where I can pick up the channel to watch it. So basically I would look up while they were doing something that I was interested in, and then while the commentators were talking or the ads were going, I would be cross-stitching. So anyway, I got this sucker done, and then I finished it by myself, and what I ended up doing, I'll show you the back and the side. So what this is I took acid-free foam board, just Elmer's acid-free foam board, and I cut 3 rectangles of the correct size to stretch this piece over, and then I glued them together to make a thicker stack because I wanted something that looked kind of like a wrapped canvas and sat away from the wall. And then I used little rust-proof pins to stretch the well, the cross stitch, the way you would pen and stretch cross stitch pieces. I think it was Tara C that had the video that I had used to kind of learn how to do this. I think there's a couple people that have done videos on it. You can look them up for how to stretch and pin a cross stitch piece. But anyway, I pinned it like this, and then on the back I didn't lace it per se, but I did take a little bit of thread and just kind of tack down the edges to each other, so you know, the middle and then each edge, so that way these loose edges weren't like flopping out and being visible. And then this is just a command strip picture hanging strip, so there's a similar one on my wall, and they go like Velcro and they hang together. So this hangs over my cross stitching spot. It's my first big cross stitching finish actually ever. I learned to cross stitch, I don't know, I was like probably in the preteen sort of range, and I've done like some bookmarks and stuff, but I haven't done any like big pieces until now. And so what I like about this is it cost me $13, and I have enough supplies to make another one, pretty much. because it was like, I think I paid like $3 for 300 pins, and then it was about $7 for this, and then it was like $3 for a pack of these. So I've got enough, let me turn this around. I have enough foam board to do at least one more, and then I've definitely got enough pens to do more, and I've definitely got enough hanging strips to do more. So it's really cheap. It was really easy to do once I actually got around to doing it. It sat for a while with me not wanting to deal with it. The downside, of course, is that it's not protected at all, so there's no glass on it. There's not even a frame on it to kind of direct dust away from it. But I'm actually okay with that. I was never going to frame it with glass because cross stitch is very much a textural medium for me, and so I like being able to, like, you know, these white areas were done with 5 strands of thread, and these yellow ones were done with like 2. So you can really see, and if you feel it, you can definitely feel it, like a textural difference in these, and I like that. So I didn't want to put glass on it to obstruct that. So I'm just gonna see how it goes. I've never seen anyone finish a piece like this off the top of my head. I've seen people finish them in like the standing cube type things, which is very similar to this, but I've not seen them do it as a wall hanging like this that I can recall. If you know someone who does, great, you know, to let me know, because I'm actually curious what their experiences are with how well it lasts. So yeah, I don't know how it's gonna last over time. I have a north-facing apartment, so I don't really get direct sunlight anywhere. It's kind of in one of the sunnier spots, so I'm hoping it won't fade too much. But, you know, I like it. I like it a lot, and I can always, like, vacuum it. And everything about this is completely removable, so I can, anytime I want to, I can cut these threads on the back and then pull out all the pins and take this off. So if I need to, I can just take this off, wash it, and reframe it. It didn't take me very long to frame it. Anyway, that was an idea I had. I like it. I'm especially going to be interested in using it when I do my giant Heaven and Earth design, because that would cost a fortune to frame, and I don't have a fortune, so we'll be doing it in this manner. Also, I think it looks really good on the wall. So, that's that piece. Oh, and the thing that cracks me up about this. So, this piece, I actually, I started it, and I got not very far. I did like this much of it. And then I stopped and I pulled all of that out. So, and then when I was stitching it this time, I wasn't terribly careful about my thread usage. But, you think they gave me enough thread? These are my leftovers. I'm planning on, like, obviously untangling these, because clearly I just took them off of where I was keeping them and just threw them in the bag. I'm planning on untangling these and just kind of taking them off the cards and having them for random other projects, I guess. If you're doing a dimensions kit and you're running out of any colors that look like these, let me know. I've got a lot. So anyway, that was just kind of funny that it was like, you think I have enough? Oh dear. So anyway, that was this piece. That was my big finish, which I'm super excited about, and that basically threw off all of my other stitching for quite a while. I also have done a bit of work on my Heaven and Earth design, which is 4 Heavenly Beasts by Kaomi Hirai, and I didn't think to grab the picture of what it is. Basically, it's like the 4 Heavenly Beasts from Chinese mythology, so tiger, dragon, the turtle-snake combo that's called like the Black Warrior or something, and then a phoenix standing around. And I'm just up in a corner here. This is Tiger's shoulder, is where we're at. And I'm pretty sure that last time you saw this, I had not done this little 20 stitch wide column at all. And I'm not quite done with it. As soon as I do this last little tiny section, that's going to be a page finish, and that'll be my first page finish of 30 some odd or more. It is a large size chart, so if you're looking at it and thinking that's a little bit small, that would be why. It is on white 18 count. On antique white, I think, 18 count Ada, because I wanted it a bit bigger, and because I'm planning on finishing it like that other one, wasn't concerned about framing size. So So anyway, yeah, I need to finish this, and then I'll have my first page finished, and it's been over a year since I started it, so that'll be interesting. That'll take me a while to get done. Although, to be fair, I do think that part of the reason this has gone so slowly is because I was doing a lot of work on that other piece, so now that other piece is gone, this will probably get more attention. Anyway, I'm gonna finish that sucker up, and then I'm probably gonna film a video on how I like to park, because I think I do it differently than a lot of people when I start my next page, because I kind of do some prep on the pattern itself that I can show you anyway. Anyway, this is where we're at with this. I'm quite happy about that. I'm very excited with how Tiger is looking. I don't know if you can tell, but the very whitest white parts of Tiger are sparkly. Most of the sparkle you're seeing is my gridding thread, which is just a metallic flat ribbon-like thing that I found at some random store. I couldn't tell you what it is, but there's actually acrylic in Tiger's very whitest white parts, and I think I was flipping through the pattern. I think that the very whitest white parts on all of the animals are sparkly, which I'm super excited about too. This is actually my first time I've ever used acrylic, and actually, so if you have used acrylic before, the pattern called for 2 strands of acrylic over 1 cross, the same as it was 2 strands of floss over 1 cross, and that was just way bigger and denser and like taller. To me, the number 4 braid, which is what it called for, which is what I got, seems to be about as thick as 2 strands of regular floss. So I've been doing my crosses with 1 strand of the acrylic, and I'm wondering whether you have any experience with that, if it's just the way that I stitch that's making the 2 strands of acrylic seem too much, or if there's like a mistake in the pattern and it says 2 when it really means 1. I don't know. Anyway, if you know anything about acrylic, let me know what your experiences are. Oh, and this is a new grime guard that I made for my Q-snaps. With the fabric, I have a little used craft supply place, and every so often they sell their fabric for like $2 a pound. I might have bought like 6 pounds of denim to make jeans. But anyway, this is like, it's either 6 pounds or 12 pounds. It was a lot of, it was a giant piece of really good quality denim, and I was like, yes. But anyway, this is just a random kind of embroidered on fabric that I got, that I made a grime guard out of it, and I'm planning on actually making like a cover for the whole Q-snap, because I like to leave these sitting out on my frame, and they kind of sit like this, which means they're exposed to dust falling on them. So I kind of want to make a cover for it that I can put on it when I'm not actively working on it, but it's on my frame. Anyway, it's going to be a rambly day, sorry y'all. That's 4 Heavenly Beasts. Eventually I'll get a page finish on it, I promise. So, I do have another dimensions kit that I'm working on called Oriental Butterfly, which is, oh, I have it slightly snapped to itself so that I can keep it out of the way, which is this thing. It is on a 14 count Aida. Like I said, it's a dimensions kit, and this is actually pre-printed Aida, so all of these, I want to say Chinese symbols. I actually have someone who, I have a friend who speaks, reads Japanese, and I think she confirmed that they were Chinese symbols. Those are all pre-printed on. So this part is what I've stitched here. And when last you saw this, I've kind of been doing, I do like one wing and then the body and then the other wing. So I was about here on this wing, I was about here on the body, and I was about here on this wing. So we've done this wing down, the body down, this wing. So anyway. It's super cool. I really like it. I bought this kit back when I was really only working on, before I started 4 Heavenly Beasts, when I was primarily working on the Morning Flight as my cross stitch, because the Morning Flight was so blue and gray, and this is like bright, bright colors, which I really like. It's interesting. So when I first was looking at this orange and red is about 4 colors. This is 3 colors, and this is 3 colors, but 2 of them are blended. That is my timer, and I need to go check on my dog's sweet potato, so I will be back in just a minute. Alright, that's probably one of the more interesting reasons to leave a video. Sweet potato's not done yet. I make my own dog food. We're cooking sweet potatoes for our veggies this week. Anyway. Right, so these are, the purple is 3 different colors of threads, and 2 of those 3 are blended. And at first I was like, man, can't you pick like some purples and blues that actually you know, work and you don't have to do blended threads. But what I find is that the blended threads gives us a really interesting, like, iridescent look. And now that I've done, like, a whole wing, I'm wishing they used more blended threads on these two, because I think it would have given it more of an iridescent butterfly wing look. But anyway, what can you do? That one is going quite quickly because it's on 14 count, and the stitches are bigger than anything else I'm working on. And then my last stitching project is the Round and Circle Stitch Along. It's a heart hanger stitch along from Mabel Figworthy's. It's not the actual name of the designer, but that's the name of the website and everything. And it's a year-long stitch along. Anyway, it starts out easier and gets harder, and, well, not harder and harder, but more complex. So I think that last time you saw this, I had finished this round, which you can half see. This is my old ground guard that I've already made. And then I did this one, which I love these like wrapped bars because they look like they're going at a different angle than usual. These are some beads on here. Well, originally they were French knots, and I decided to do beads instead because I wanted more silver on this one. And then there's this one, which has got these little butterflies, which are so burkable. They actually like kind of stand out there. They were under the Q-snap for a bit, but they stand out from the fabric. It's really nice. And then I'm currently working on this one. There went a needle. So I'm currently working, here we go, on this one. I'm in the middle of starting to wrap the bars here. Because heart hanger is a cut and pulled thread work, so down here I've cut and pulled the threads that I don't need, and up here I'm starting to do the kind of work over those threads. Now this, because of Morning Flight and my obsession with it, this is the August block. It is October, so once I get done with this, I have 2 more blocks to go, and by that point probably the November one will be out. So anyway, it'll, whatever, it'll get done at some point, so. This is my lovely, lovely heart hanger piece. And so right now I'm just going to kind of show you this in the frame because I'm still currently working on it and I just got my tension perfect and I don't want to mess it up. But at some point I will obviously pull this open and show you the whole thing together. It's going to be awesome. Highly recommend, oh, there's another needle. Apparently that's not one of my good needle minders. Highly recommend that pattern if you're thinking about learning heart hanger. Her instructions are really good. She's got great blog things and it's actually pretty cheap for the whole thing. I think I paid like, it was like £4, which worked out to be like $6 at the exchange rate. So for a whole year's worth of patterns, it was quite a good deal. And she's super friendly and super responsive and stuff. So that's cool too. I've never needed help or anything, but I've sent like pictures into her gallery of stuff. And so she always writes back and it's like, that's so cool. So anyway. If you're interested in heart hanger, highly recommend checking out Mabel Figworthy, just as a heads up. Okay, that's what I've been doing stitching-wise. Knitting. I'm actually kind of shocked how much knitting I have because I went through a couple months of like not even touching knitting. So this first thing I'm going to show you is the Metallurgy shawl by, I want to say it's by Very Busy Monkey. Let me just double check that on the pattern. Yes, Very Busy Monkey. So it's a shawl and it has this kind of border on it, basically. And when last you saw this, I was down here. I had knit this much. A little knitting. Since then, I've knit all of the garter stitch section. This will stretch out bigger, by the way, when it blocks. And then, hello. Yarn caught around needle. I haven't taken this thing out of the bag in quite a while, so anyway. Oh, this yarn is some unknown, random, very loosely plied acrylic that I then unplied and made thinner so that I could do it with this shawl. So I have no idea what it is, but it has nice stitch definition. So anyway, where I'm at now is actually working on the knitted on border. So that border is actually worked. You work the shawl back and forth, and then you like turn in 90-degree angles and work the border in these little short sections across the edge. So I'm trying to figure out how I can show this on my needles. Here, it's something like this. I think this is the border that I'm working now. These are size 5 Addy Turbos as my needles, for those of you that care about such things. And I kind of lost steam on this partly because of the heat and not wanting to have something large and knitted on my lap, and partly because when I first started working on this edge, I felt like it was way too loose and it wasn't going to look good. Oh, am I showing you the back? I'm showing you the back. Okay, this is the front. Back actually is kind of cool. So anyway, this is the front. And I think that as I've gotten more into it, let me not put it right in front of my mouth. As I've gotten more into it, I think that it is gonna look just fine. So I just need to get back to this now that I'm more in the mood to knit. Anyway, that's where that is at. Interestingly, so you wouldn't notice this most of the time because garter stitch looks the same on both sides, but I swear what she calls the front in the main pattern, when you're knitting this main thing, becomes the back when you switch to this. And I looked on Ravelry with other people who had done this to see if anyone else had commented on it, and no one did, so I'm not sure if I messed something up or if just no one noticed. I noticed because I was keeping the cut threads because of the way, just because of the yarn that I was using, because I was using one that had been used in another project that I pulled out that I then unplied. Basically, I have a lot of joins. And because I was keeping the joins on the back of the piece, I discovered that they're now on the front of the piece. There's my pattern, whatever, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, no big deal. Still a pretty pattern. So, like I said, this is the start. So, like, the whole border is here and up. And you can kind of see there's these, like, open sections, and then there's this more closed section that's going to do this swoopy thing. Anyway, that is that. Like I said, I need to get back into it now that it's getting cooler and I don't have to worry so much about not wanting to and all this stuff. So the other thing that I did, so when I last did my video, I was showing you a pair of colorwork mittens that I was doing. Can't remember what the pattern was called off the top of my head. It was a cute pattern. I really liked the pattern. The problem that I had was that the pink and white yarn that I picked, well, had picked, they were basically old acrylic that I had in my stash that I wanted to use up, and I thought they would do well together in this colorwork pattern, but they were so similar in color when you were looking at just one, like if you had the two balls next to each other, they looked nice and different, but when you held two strands next to each other and knit with them, they were close enough that I couldn't really see the difference. So I got kind of tired of that, and I wasn't loving the tension that I needed to knit with. It was a little bit tight for that particular yarn. So anyway, I ended up ripping that out. I have another pattern picked for the white yarn, and with the pink yarn, I ended up making these not quite done little baby booties. The pattern is free on Ravelry, and it's called Someone's Booties, and I don't remember what the someone's name is right now. I will definitely have a link in the description bar, and if I think about it, I'll have a link on the bottom of the screen, or the name on the bottom of the screen, but can't guarantee I'll think about it. Anyway, they're these little booties, and they have these little cross straps with buttons. And no, I'm not planning on having a baby. I don't have anyone who's having a baby. I'm gonna donate these to the Homeless Resource Center up by my parents' place. So I had enough pink yarn to do 2 with the 2 straps in the larger of the 2 sizes, and then I had the smaller size. I had just enough to do a pair with like a single, like, I think they're called Mary Jane straps. So they're cute. The pattern is originally written to be knit flat and you seam it up the bottom. I ended up adapting it and knitting it in the round because why not? So it's got kind of a weird, because I used Judy's Magic Cast On, which allows you to cast on like the toe of a sock, which is supposed to be smooth on both sides. This is supposed to be garter on both sides. So there's a little, I'm not explaining that well. Basically, the way that things had to work out for the garter stitch pattern to work right, the way I wanted it to, I had to do an extra round of knit. So there's a little bit of stockinette on the bottom and then garter stitch the rest of the way up, but you know what? It's not like the baby's gonna notice. And so to finish these off, the reason I got these long things is I need to put, I need to make a buttonhole with this extra yarn here and then put a button here. So I've got 2 sets of buttons. The like Mary Jane smaller size ones are obviously going to use 2 buttons, 1 on each shoe, and the other ones are going to use 4 buttons, 2 on each shoe. feel like they go pretty well. This one I was a little questionable about, but I picked these up at Joann's. I think they either had a sale or a coupon on buttons recently, so I just went ahead and got those. I think I'm going to do this for the one that needs 4 buttons and this for the one that needs 2 buttons, because I feel like this might be a little bit too strong of a color contrast if I did with all 4. Plus, I suspect I would have more use for the leftover 2 of this than of this. So, anyway, I just need to deal with those buttons and the buttonholes. I wanted to wait to make the buttonholes until I had the buttons so I could know how big they needed to be, and I could make sure that everything was going to fit. So, that's that. And then the other thing that I decided to do was I have some sandals that are a little bit too loose and that kind of rub on my foot and give me a little bit of a blister. So I was like, I want to knit some socks, but I don't want them to be like full-length socks because that would be too warm to go with sandals. So I'm going to knit some like short socks. So I decided to knit the Rose City Rollers pattern because that's a pretty... I've seen a lot of people knit it, and it seems to be a really popular pattern for short socks. And I'm trying to see if I have Orange Knits Designs. I was like, I didn't print the front cover page. That was just a picture of the sock and the designer's name. So I was like, do I have a designer's name? It's Orange Knits Designs. Rose City Rollers, free pattern on Ravelry. Apparently really popular. It seems to be a really nice pattern. And I'm kind of using the... Danny from Little Bobbins knits her socks 2 at a time on separate sets of DPNs, and I'm kind of using that methodology because I wanted to match the stripes, and I felt like this would be a good way to do it. So what I'm using for, okay, let me just back up. What I'm using for yarn is I'm using this Opal Fien und Elfin yarn, which I got in a grab bag from Dizzy Sheep. I love Dizzy Sheep. Dizzy Sheep is a lot of fun. It's a yarn store, basically. And they were doing a sock yarn sale thing, and they had like a grab bag and you could get whatever. So I got this yarn, and this is not particularly a color combination that I would have picked. But the good news is I've been wanting to try Opal for a while, and I've never been able to pick a color combination because they have so freaking many. So the people at Dizzy Sheep picked for me. Isn't that what I would have picked? But it's growing on me, so you know, whatever. Anyway, I split this... extra needles. I split the yarn into 2 cakes, and I split it right at the... it was actually pretty close to an even split. And I split it right at the point, at the same part in the color pattern, because Opal yarn is like self-patterning, and it makes patterns and stripes and stuff. I'm knitting them on size 2 double point needles, like the cheapy craft store ones. So I have 2 socks. This sock I've done the little rolled cuff and the heel, and then I've turned the heel, and I'm starting working on the gusset. This sock I've done the gusset. So basically I did the little heel, and then I switched to the other sock and I did the little heel, or the little cuff, and I did the cuff. And then I did the heel, and then I did the heel, and then I'm doing the gusset, and I'm going to do the gusset. So basically I'm just making sure that my sock matches up fairly well color-wise, and also that it's nice because I can like memorize the pattern to do this part of it, and then do that next part of it. And my camera's about to cut me off, so I'm going to stop and restart. Alright, so anyway, this is what it looks like so far, is really where I was getting at. Like you can see, so it kind of makes these stripey patterns, and they actually match up quite well, because they match up at this point right here. And then if you're looking on like the back, they line up super well, which I really like. I was hoping they would match up. They seem to match up. I'm actually really liking this method of knitting the 2 socks at the same time, because like I said, I can like memorize what you do for this part and then I do it twice, and then I memorize what you do for this part and I do it twice. So instead of doing it all once and then memorizing it again, or magic looping it where you're knitting both socks simultaneously, but you have to do a lot more adjusting of your needles, and I find that that goes more slowly than doing it on the double points. So anyway, that is a thing that I'm working on. It's going quite quickly. I want to say I started them maybe a week ago, maybe. So pretty quickly. And that's really most of what I've done. I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, I was going to show you. So I have things falling off. I don't really keep track of my cross stitch projects because I don't have very many going on. What you saw was the majority of them. For my knitting projects, I keep track of them on Ravelry because I can have like a queue of what I want to do, and I can keep track of what yarn I'm using and all that jazz. It's awesome. And I want to do more sewing. I don't do a lot of sewing. I've done like the ground guards and stuff, but I want to start like sewing clothes for me and stuff. So I wanted a way to keep track of those projects. And there are some, I am on, although I haven't checked recently, on Threadle, which is the Ravelry-like site for sewing, but I wanted something a little more visual and a little more that I'm likely to check. So I ended up making myself this sucker, which is sewing projects, and you can see each project is on a sticky note, and as you can see, most of my stuff is either in the planning section, i.e. I haven't started it, or it needs to be mended. I'm a little behind on my mending. But this is literally just a cardboard off of a box that I then painted this on, and then made myself this little like planning and then designing for my clothes and fitting if I'm doing like a muslin for fitting an actual clothing item, and then cutting out the fabric, sewing it, and then hand sewing it, and then any mending that needs to be done. So I can hang this on the wall next to my sewing machine because I now have a setup where I can keep my sewing machine out all the time, which is awesome. Do a little more sewing. Anyway, I really liked the way it came out, so I wanted to show this. I got the kind of instructions for doing this pattern from Sea Lemon. It's one of her older pattern, can't remember what she calls it though, but it's one of her older like pattern tutorials. And this is just washi tape, sparkly and non-sparkly. So that's a thing that I made, which I thought was cool and I wanted to show you. And then the other thing that I've been doing is I haven't been doing much painting, like painting, but I've been doing some watercoloring as a coloring in sort of a deal. Sorry, I had a minor camera falling incident. It's apparently not my day. Anyway, I was saying that I've been doing some watercoloring, but not like as paintings, but more as like coloring in things. And so I was just going to kind of show you that because I think it's coming out pretty cool. So this is not a coloring book, but this is an old book that my parents had of these like, and when I say old book, I mean 1977. 10 years older than I am. I did check on Amazon. There are a bazillion copies under $5, so it's not like it's some rare book that I'm coloring in. But it has these invisible, like, find the things in the pictures. I have no idea what thing is in that particular picture. Like, this is like find a surfboard and girls in bathing suits in that picture. So anyway, but they're like black and white, and they're cool. And so I started like watercoloring them because why not? So this is like Grandpa reading on Origin of Species. Find the chimpanzee. It's here. It's upside down. It's got one arm here and a face here and an arm there. So I don't know if you can see it terribly well. Sometimes the coloring in masks them. Sometimes it doesn't. This is the ship. Find the spyglass. It's right here. I know there's other things in here too, but anyway, this is like a castle that I'm partly done coloring in. So it's been really good because I've been mixing all of these colors myself, and so I've gotten to practice like mixing the colors and like going back in and glazing over it to add shading and stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with these clouds. I wanted to do like a sunset with like pink and yellow light from below that I think I got pretty okay. Anyway. It's been fun, and this book actually takes watercolor really well for a book that's like super not a watercolor book, or even a coloring book. So, anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing painting-wise. I really haven't been doing any painting other than that, so I figured I would just show you that because I thought it was pretty cool, and I liked the way this was coming out. And apparently my camera hates me today, so anyway, that's another little break that I'm going to have to edit out. That's what I've been up to. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know if you got any questions or comments. And hopefully I will see you sometime in the not quite as distant as this last round future.